What if I told you that one of the greatest empire builders in history was not Caesar, not Alexander, not even Genghis Khan, but a forgotten pharaoh, nearly erased from history by a woman he once called mother? He ruled for over 50 years, led more campaigns than Napoleon, and transformed ancient Egypt into a superpower. And yet, most of us have never heard his name. This is the story of Thutmose III, the pharaoh who waited decades in the shadows before conquering the ancient world. Egypt, 1479 BCE. The mighty pharaoh Thutmose II is dead. His son, Thutmose III, is too young to rule. Traditionally, a regent would hold the throne until the boy came of age. But what happened was anything but traditional. His stepmother and aunt, Hatshepsut, declared herself pharaoh. Not queen, not regent. She wore the royal crown, the false beard, the kilt. She issued decrees, led religious festivals, and ordered massive construction projects, temples, obelisks, monuments, in her name. And Thutmose? He was listed as co-ruler, but that was just a title. In reality, Egypt had one true ruler, and it wasn't him. But the boy didn't rebel. Instead, he waited. For over 20 years, Thutmose bided his time. While Hatshepsut ruled Egypt as a king, Thutmose trained in military strategy, honed his leadership, and embedded himself in Egypt's army. He learned the art of war from the inside out. When most royal heirs would have drowned in luxury, Thutmose chose the barracks. He learned how to ride fight command troops and read terrain. He studied foreign powers, Mitanni, Nubia, Canaan. He prepared for a world outside Egypt's borders, because someday, power would return to him. And when it did, he wouldn't just take back the throne, he would redefine it. In 1458 BCE, Hatshepsut died under mysterious circumstances. There was no clear cause, no recorded illness, just silence. And from that silence, Thutmose III stepped forward. At age 30, he was no longer a boy, no longer a name in a shadow. He was pharaoh in full power. His first actions? Swift, strategic, ruthless. He began systematically erasing Hatshepsut's legacy. Her name and image were chiseled out of temple walls. Statues were destroyed, inscriptions defaced. Some say it was revenge. Others believe it was political, an attempt to reassert male dynastic legitimacy. Either way, history was being rewritten. But you know, the real rewriting was yet to come, on the battlefield. Just months into his reign, Thutmose faced rebellion. A coalition of Canaanite city-states had risen up, supported by the powerful kingdom of Mitanni in the north. At their head was the fortress city of Megiddo, a name that would echo through military history for millennia. Thutmose led his army, likely 20,000 strong, across the Sinai Desert. His generals advised caution approach from the south. Take the longer road, avoid ambushes. But Thutmose defied them. He chose a narrow mountain pass, dangerous, steep, and exposed. Why? Because it was unexpected. And, well, it worked. The Canaanite army, caught off guard, fled in chaos, leaving behind gold, weapons, even their own horses. Megiddo was surrounded. Thutmose laid siege. 7 months later, the city fell. Egypt's dominance in the Levant was restored. The victory wasn't just military, it was psychological, and it marked the beginning of an empire. Over the next 2 decades, Thutmose III would conduct 17 military campaigns. His army advanced deep into Syria, crossed the Euphrates, and crushed rebellions in Nubia to the south. No pharaoh had ever ruled such vast lands. He brought back tribute from over 350 conquered cities. Gold, copper, horses, rare woods, exotic animals, captives, and chariots. His war spoils, honestly, transformed Egypt into a global superpower. But he didn't just fight, he documented. On the walls of the Karnak temple, his campaigns are inscribed like journal entries, troop numbers, enemy strategies, plundered wealth. It's actually one of the most detailed military records from the ancient world. He even established Egypt's first permanent army, organized into elite units. Some historians call him the Napoleon of Egypt. But here's the difference. Thutmose never lost. Back home, Thutmose was a builder. He expanded the Karnak temple, added monumental obelisks, and filled Egypt with treasures from abroad. He introduced new plants, trees, and animals into Egyptian life. In a scene from Karnak, he is shown personally cataloging foreign flora, a detail that reveals more than ambition. It shows curiosity, vision, and, a desire to merge science with power. This wasn't just conquest for conquest's sake. It was curation. A warrior pharaoh who also acted like a librarian, a botanist, and even a priest. When Thutmose III died around 1425 BCE, Egypt was at its height. He was buried in the Valley of the Kings, KV 34, which is actually one of the earliest royal tombs there. Its walls are adorned not with pompous imagery, but with sacred texts. The Amduat, describing the pharaoh's journey through the underworld. However, centuries later, something unusual occurred. Thutmose's name began to fade from records. Other pharaohs, like Akhenaten, Ramses II, and even King Tut, eclipsed his fame. Why? Some believe his earlier erasure of Hatshepsut sparked retaliation. Others say his modesty in art and lack of self-glorifying monuments made him easier to forget. By the 19th century, he was little more than a name on crumbling walls, until archaeologists unearthed his tomb and, history remembered. Today, we know the truth. Thutmose III wasn't just a ruler. He was a strategist, a scholar, a visionary. He united Egypt by sword and scroll, by temple and treaty. And though history tried to forget him, the stones spoke louder. The campaigns carved at Karnak, the silence of KV 34, the battle at Megiddo that would echo all the way to modern war studies. He was more than a pharaoh. He was the architect of an empire. So, next time you hear about King Tut's mask or Ramses' temples, just remember this. The greatest pharaoh might be the one who left no golden tomb, no grand statue, just an empire that shaped the ancient world. Thutmose III, forgotten by time, resurrected by truth, and undefeated, even in death. If this story fascinated you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Which ancient leader do you think history got wrong? This is 5 Minutes of Culture. Because history isn't about dates, it's about the people we almost forgot.